Hello, welcome to Unit 3, Day 1, Literal Equations. So we're going to start off with vocabulary. Literal equation is an equation that has more than one variable. And remember, variable is another word for letter. So now that's literal equation. A formula is just a math sentence with letters. Only letters. Sometimes there can be numbers. So how do you solve a literal equation? You solve a literal equation by using inverse operations. So as a review, the inverse operation of division is multiplication. The inverse operation of multiplication is division. And the inverse operation of subtraction is addition. The inverse operation of addition is subtraction. These are things that you have to have memorized because when you solve anything, you're always going to have to use the inverse operation. So literal equations are the same or similar to solving regular equations, except this time we're going to put letters instead of all numbers. So for example, in each of the following examples, we're going to solve for x. So solve each equation for x. That means you want x to be alone on one side. Alright? So we're going to start with number 1. This is something that you've seen for the past 3 weeks. We're going to start by putting our line down the middle. And we want x to be alone. So that means we want to cancel this 2. And whatever we do on one side, we have to do the same thing on the other side. So the opposite of addition is subtraction. So we're going to do minus 2 on both sides. Then we're going to draw our line, and we're going to work down. X, nothing happens to it, so we're just going to copy the x. 2 minus 2 is 0, so it cancels. Then we copy the equal sign, and we work down here, and we say 6 minus 2 is 4. So our solution to this equation is x equals 4. We have x on one side and the number on the other side. So we are done. So now when we go to this next example, instead of having 2, we now have a y. But we are still doing the same thing. So we draw our line down the middle. We want x to be alone, so we have to cancel this y. The opposite of addition is subtraction, so we do minus y. Always on both sides. Then we draw our line, and we start working down. Nothing happens to the x, so we just copy. Y minus y. No matter what it is, if you do something minus the same thing, it's always going to be 0, so this is going to cancel. We copy the equal sign, and then we have 6 minus y. This is where we have to start writing things in a line. So 6 minus y is the same as writing it in a straight line. 6 minus y. We're not going to combine anything because these two do not have the same letter, so we cannot combine like terms. So we're done. Now we have x's alone on one side, so we say x equal and we just copy this. 6 minus y. So now this third one, we're going to do the same thing, except this time we only have letters. So we're going to draw our line down the middle. We want x to be alone, because once again we are solving for x. We want to cancel this y, so the opposite of addition is subtraction, so minus y on each side. We draw our line, and we start working down. So x, nothing happens, so we just copy. Y minus y is 0, so we can cancel. We copy the equal sign. And now z minus y, we cannot combine like terms because they are different letters. So we just copy z minus y in a straight line. X is alone, so we're done. So x equals z minus y. So now we're going to try it again. This was a one-step equation. Now we're going to do it using 2 steps, which, as you know, means that there are 2 steps to solving this equation. So now we have 2x minus 4 equals 8. This is kind of like the same thing you've been seeing. We want to solve for x, which means we want x to be alone. So I'm going to draw the line down the middle. The easiest thing for you to do is take the number and put it with the number. So to cancel the negative 4 from this side, I have to do the opposite. So the opposite of subtraction is addition. So I'm going to do plus 4 on both sides of the equal sign. I'm going to draw my line, and now I'm going to start working down. 2x, there's nothing that happens, so I'm going to copy 2x. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0, so I'm going to cancel. Copy the equal sign. 8 plus 4 is equal to 12. So now the second step is to divide by 2, because I want to cancel the 2 from this side. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to do that on both sides. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I can write 1x equal 12 divided by 2 is 6. So we're in high school now, we don't have to write this 1. So I can just say x equal to 6. Now we're done because x is alone and the number is alone. So when we go to our next example, it's the same equation, except this time, instead of 4, we have y. We are still going to do the same steps. We're going to put our line down the middle. We want the x to be alone, so the easiest thing to do is to cancel this y first. So the opposite of subtraction is addition, so I'm going to do plus y on both sides. Draw my line. Now I'm going to start working down. 2x, nothing happens, so I'm going to copy the 2x. Negative y plus y, once again, it's going to cancel. Copy the equal sign. 8 plus y does not have the same letter, so we cannot combine it. So we just write 8 plus y. We want the x to be alone, so we have to cancel the 2. We cancel the 2 by doing the opposite of multiplication, and that is division. So 2 divided by 2 on both sides. Cancel from here. Now we have x equal to, and you can just copy this exactly, 8 plus y divide by 2. X is alone on one side, so we are done. Now over here, once again it's the same equation, except this time there's no 8. We're going to put a z. So we're going to follow the same steps. plus y on both sides. We're going to work down. 2x, nothing happens, so we copy 2x. Minus y plus y cancels. Copy the equal sign. Z plus y. We cannot combine them because they are not like terms. They do not have the same letter. So that means I'm just going to copy it exactly here in a straight line. Z plus y. We want the x to be alone, so that means we have to cancel the 2. So I'm going to do the opposite. Divide by 2 on both sides. This cancels, so now we have x equal to z plus y divide by 2. X is alone, so we are done. So in all of these examples, we solved for x. That means x is by itself on one side, and everything else is on the other side. So now we're going to do some more examples, except this time it says solve each equation for the given variable. Given variable, that means in each problem it's going to tell you to solve for some kind of letter. So in this case it says solve for y. Y is a variable. So that means when we look at this equation here, we want to get this y alone. So we're going to do the same thing by drawing the line down the equal sign. The first step is to take this 10x term and cancel it here. The opposite of addition is subtraction. The reason we know it is addition is because there's nothing next to the 10. That means this is a positive number. And the opposite of a positive number is a negative number. So we're going to do negative 10x here. We go to the other side and we do negative 10x. Now we're going to draw our line and we're going to start working down. 10 minus 10 is 0, which means this is going to cancel. Now the only thing we have left is this plus 5y. So we can copy 5y. We're going to copy the equal sign. And then we have 80 minus 10x. We cannot combine them because they are not like terms. So we are just going to copy this down here in a straight line. 80 minus 10x. The goal is to get y to be alone. So 5 times y. The opposite of times, which is multiplication, is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 5. Now the 5 cancels, and we have y equal to, and then we just copy this exactly. 80 minus 10x divide by 5. We're done. Y is all alone. This next example says solve for x. This time we're going to solve for x. We want this x to be alone. Don't be freaked out that it's all letters, because we are going to do the same thing. It's a two-step equation. We're going to draw our line down the middle. We're going to take this b away, because after we simplify, we have to add or subtract. The opposite of addition is subtraction, so we're going to do minus b on both sides. Draw our line, and now we're going to start working down. Nothing happens to the ax, so we copy ax. B minus b cancels. Copy the equal sign, and then c minus b, we just copy in a straight line. We want x to be alone, so that means we have to divide by a on both sides. The a cancels here. So now we have x equal to c minus b divided by a. X is alone, therefore we are finished. And this is your answer. Now these next couple of examples follow the same method of using the inverse operation to cancel so that you can get a variable to be alone. So now we have, in the following formulas, solve for the given variable. Remember, formula is just a math sentence that has a whole bunch of letters. variable is the same as a letter. So in this example, we have C equal to 2 pi r. You don't have to know what pi means, it's just another symbol. Okay? It says solve for r. That means in this formula, we're going to circle r and we're going to say we want r to be alone. So in order to cancel the 2 times pi times r, we have to do the opposite. This is all multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to draw my line, and I'm going to say divide by 2 pi. On both sides, we're going to do it. Now this 2 is the same on top and bottom, so it can cancel. This pi is the same top and bottom, so it can cancel. Now on this side, I have r to be all alone. Copy the equal sign, and then I just copy this exactly how it looks like. C divide by 2 pi. So in math, whenever we have a letter to be alone, we like to put it on the left side. So I'm just going to copy this again. I'm going to say r equal, it's the same, C over 2 pi. So this next example says A equals L times W. Solve for W. That means we want this W to be alone. So I'm going to copy this again. A equals L W. L times W, which means the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by L. This is an L, not a 1. Now the L here cancels. We copy the W, copy the equal sign, and we copy this exactly. A divide by L. Once again, in math, we like to have this lonely letter on the left side. So I'm going to write this again. W equal to A divide by L. Now we have solve for B. We're going to look at this equation and say we want to solve for B. So let's get rid of this 1/2 first. This is divide by 2. The opposite of division is multiplication. So that means we're going to multiply by 2 on this side and do the same thing here. That means this 2 can cancel with this 2. And the only thing we have left over is BH. We're going to copy the equal sign, and we're going to copy this 2 times A. Now the goal is to have B to be alone, so that means I'm going to do the opposite of multiplication. So I'm going to divide by H on both sides. So now when I look at this, H is the same on the top and bottom. That means I can cancel. I only have B left over, equal 2A divide by H. We like the letter to be on the left, so B is equal to 2A divide by H. Now our last example says solve for X. That means over here I want X to be alone. So the easiest thing to do is to first cancel this B. This says divide by B. So the opposite of division is multiplication, so I'm going to multiply B on both sides. So now same on top and bottom, that means I can cancel. And I'm going to copy this X minus V. I'm going to copy the equal sign, and I'm going to copy this B, Y. Now I'm going to take this minus V, and I want to cancel it because I want X to be alone. So I'm going to do plus V on both sides. Notice how I only use this line when I do I only use this line when I use addition and subtraction, because then I can work down. Minus v plus v, cancel. I have x left over. Copy the equal sign, and then I copy this in a straight line. So I say by plus v. Remember, we like this lonely letter to be on the left side, so I can say x equal to by plus v. That is our final answer. So now these last two problems are SOL preview problems, and I want you guys to try them by yourself. If you have any questions, please let me know.